Hello and welcome to the Sport for Business Daily. I'm joined this morning by Leon Blanche. He's the head of communications with BoyleSports, Ireland's largest retail bookmaker and a sponsor of some considerable presence both within Ireland and within the UK market. You're very welcome to Sport for Business, Leon.
Thank you very much, Rob, and thanks for inviting me on. And how are you?
I'm in good form, thanks. Well, as good as can be expected in these troubling times. But, we want to take a look today at the activity which you've been doing over the last couple of weeks, primarily in relation to your darts sponsorship. You're involved as sponsor of the BoyleSports Irish Grand National, and you've been a backer of the Irish Greyhound Derby for the last 7 years as well. But in relation to the darts partnership, you kicked that off last year. It was in an environment which we're familiar with in darts of a certain amount of insanity and madness with the crowd cheering, shouting. It's all part of the fun of the fair. But this year was markedly different. So tell us a little bit about what was going through your mind as a corporate entity looking to get the most from sponsorship when perhaps one of the key elements of it was going to be missing this year.
Yeah, look, I think I'll take you back to maybe 2019, first of all, and the reason we were looking to expand our sponsorship portfolio into other sports around football and darts and anything else that we hadn't kind of dipped our toe in before. And we were looking at darts as it's an entertainment. I mean, all you got to do is look at the crowds and look at people going there for a night out, and the viewership figures were always tremendous on Sky Sports, and Sky have got right behind the PDC in terms of promoting this sport on their channel. And last year, we were looking to try and find a gap in the market around the international football break. And the BoyleSports World Grand Prix actually became available in that space where the Premier League takes its 2 weeks, where players travel around the world and play for their country. So we found it as an opportune time to get our brand front and foremost in the face of many hundreds of thousands of people to showcase BoyleSports as a sports betting brand. And it was a tremendous success in Dublin. The crowds were there, as you rightly said. And we actually then went on to sponsor the Grand Slam in Wolverhampton. And you might ask, why Wolverhampton and why the Grand Slam? And it all ties into our strategy of building a base from the Midlands in the UK. We had just recently opened up some retail outlets across Birmingham, Coventry and Wolverhampton. And again, the Grand Slam of darts fell in that international break. So you're not competing with the Premier League. And we all know how big the Premier League is. We all know how much Sky Sports put behind it, also BT Sports. So when you don't have to compete with the Premier League, it's an opportune time for your brand to be the number one watched brand across sport for that period of time. So obviously coming into 2020, the whole world was hit by this pandemic, which is COVID-19. And we were in discussions with the PDC from a long time out as to A, would the tournament happen in Dublin? B, would there be any fans present? And C, what is the contingency plan? Should we not have Dublin? Should we not have fans? Where are we going to have it? And the PDC were exceptional to deal with right from the start. We were in constant dialogue, and it became clear that Dublin was not going to be an option. It also became clear that fans were not going to be an option. So what do? We both agreed that we want to have the tournament. There was never any doubt that the tournament was going to take place. And Coventry in the Ricoh Arena, it's a unique setup where you can have the players all housed in the hotel. You can have the event happen in the conference center, and everything is linked. No players have to travel anywhere bar leaving their hotel room and coming down and going out to play their matches. So we felt it was fantastic that the tournament was going to happen. Yes, it's a great shame that fans weren't allowed to be at the event. But you might as well show your brand live on Sky Sports, main event, and of course on Arena to the whole Irish and UK public. And the public who are watching darts are sports fans. They might have a bet. So it's a great chance and a great opportunity to showcase our brand to the massive audience.
It's prime time television. It is, as you say, a competitive head-to-head sport. So there are plenty of betting opportunities, which is natural for a betting company to get involved in. That sort of sense of sport being on at a time when people are restricted from movement in terms of going out for dinner or going out to the pub and things like that has meant a boost in the television viewing figures. From your point of view, does that compensate fully for the lack of atmosphere, which actually sort of, you don't get to see, you don't experience in the arena?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think it's hard to replicate that atmosphere, Rob, because you know, and I know, and anyone who's watched a darts event, the atmosphere is truly fantastic. I mean, people go there to have a fun night and to give the players backing or give them plenty of stick, whatever they want to do. But in terms of trying to make up for fans, our branding this year at the actual event in the Ricoh Arena, we were able to get more branding. We were able to pick spots that primarily would have been filled with fans. So our brand was front and center at everybody. You couldn't help but know who sponsored the World Grand Prix. It was BoyleSports. And I thought our branding team done an exceptional job in relation to having our brand where you couldn't miss it. Everybody seen it. It was very dominant. It was it was in people's eyes. And that was huge for us to make sure that we made the best of not having fans, but we made the best of having our brand. And it was about getting our brand out there to the Sky Sports audience. And you talked about viewership figures in relation to a tournament like this. And year on year, the audience increased 43% from 2019 to 2020, and the year-on-year peak actually increased 37%. So when you get those figures back as a partner and as a sponsor, it makes you feel good, and it makes you feel that you made the correct decision to let the event happen, which it was never in doubt, but to let the event happen, to showcase the World Grand Prix, the BoyleSports World Grand Prix to the people sitting at home. And as you rightly said, when you have Sky Sports coverage and you're on the main event and you're not competing, especially with the Premier League and the Championship, the sports fan, the sports bettor is more likely to tune in. And we saw that in our numbers from Sky. And we've also saw that in our own numbers where we do comparisons year on year. And uniques were up. If you look at our turnover was up. So you're always looking, even the bets, in terms of the amount of bets that were actually placed on the tournament, they all moved progressively forward from 2019. So all in all, when you're looking at reviewing a tournament of this nature and a sponsorship and a partnership, A, you want to see the audience grow, and B, you want to see from your own business perspective, your turnover, your bets and your uniques, you want to see them grow. And thankfully, all three have grown massively. So it's been a fantastic tournament for us.
You are one of the sectors that can draw a very straight line from a sponsorship and activation and television coverage through to your own business, almost in real time. So that's encouraging from your point of view, that it should have done the same. In relation to your Irish sponsorships in the more traditional fields, the horse and the greyhound racing, they both went ahead. Well, the Greyhound Derby went ahead this year. You backed that for another year. The BoyleSports Irish Grand National, we have to be hopeful that it will be back on more even keel come next autumn. But the expansion over into the UK, does that mean that you are going to be looking further afield for new sponsorship opportunities as they arise?
Well, I think if you look, Rob, at our last couple of years, our sponsorship portfolio is the broadest it's ever been right now. We are principal partner of Birmingham City Football Club. We're principal partner of Coventry City Football Club, which was just signed this season. We've also become principal partner with Larne Football Club up in Northern Ireland. And you're right, BoyleSports is expanding in terms of our retail presence in Northern Ireland, over in England. And of course, here in the Republic of Ireland, we are the largest retail bookmaker on the island of Ireland. And we're very proud of that and our sponsorship portfolio, it has become much more diverse, which is fantastic. We're branching out into different sports that we hadn't done before. You're right about the BoyleSports Irish Grand National. Unfortunately, we lost it this year, but we just had signed a 4-year deal with Fairy House and with HRI. So that will take us, please God, from 2021 up to and including 2024. The BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby, and we've had that now for 7 years. We initially did a 3-year deal and then another 3-year deal. And these unforeseen times, it was a 1-year contract for 2020. But even though we didn't have fans at Shelbourne Park, I thought the social media coverage, the live reporting from Sarah Kinsella, from Kevin Hennessy, who are part of the BoyleSports team, I thought that was tremendous. It brought people an insight into greyhound racing that they might never have seen before, because the guys were there and they got the news quicker than anybody else got the news. I thought RPG TV was fantastic, covering the Derby live from the 3rd round. So you've got to adapt when you don't have fans there. You've got to try and bring it to the fans that would not have been able to see this stuff. Ordinarily, they might be at Shelbourne Park. Ordinarily, they might have been at the City West for the BoyleSports Grand Prix. So when they're not there, it's up to us to try and bring as much as we can into their living room, onto their phone, onto whatever device they're watching the darts. I mean, I went to the darts over in Coventry, and to get that insight from a player after he has played, it was fantastic for me to be able to sit down, interview them, get a real insight into what does it feel like just coming off the stage. Was it a good performance? Was it a bad performance? Did you exceed expectations? And then to be able to give that to our social media following, I think that gives them a new insight into how a player feels. So we're all changing, we're all adapting, and I think we have to continue to be dynamic. We have to continue to be fearless and courageous and try and bring the product to the people who aren't, unfortunately, able to be at the event.
We will come back to you on that concept of the sponsors and the rights holders actually taking a greater sense of control over some of the media as well, and how that might play out as a longer term legacy of what we're going through at the moment. In the immediate short term, though, unfortunately, I have to ask, the betting shops have been declared as part of non-essential retail, so they will be shutting from Thursday morning of this week. The impact you will have been able to judge from March and April, when, again, we were in a similar situation. You do have the facility of online, which has grown and developed hugely. You still got telephone betting that's operated as well. How much of an impact to the business as a retailer is the latest events surrounding the lockdown?
Yeah, look, Rob, it's as I just said previously, we are the largest retail bookmaker on the island of Ireland. So it's devastating for our 1,500 loyal and hardworking retail employees, and certainly from their perspective, to have the doors closed, it's heartbreaking. And over the past 6 months, we have invested an awful lot of money in making our shops a safe environment for our customers. The new screens on our counters and in between our machines, the hand sanitizing stations, extensive signage in every store. A lot of work has gone in to our retail outlets, and we've also significantly restricted the number of people allowed in any of our BoyleSports stores at any one time to ensure compliance with all public health guidance. So it's a difficult time. It's challenging for a lot of businesses, none more so than our own. But I go back to, again, it's our staff who we take pride in, our loyal staff, and I mean that in every sense of the word. They're exceptional staff, and they've been going in there making sure everything is safe. And for the entire country, there's a lot of retail businesses up and down length and breadth of this island that are going to struggle in the next 6 weeks. It's important to hear that government have supports in place. I think that's vitally important, because people and employers want to employ And as I said, we've over 1,500 staff in retail. That's a big number. And we want to ensure that they are looked after during this 6-week period, as we always did back in March when our shops were closed. We made sure that every single BoyleSports employee was maintained and was looked after. So look, it's going to be difficult. We've been here before, but as we did back then, we were able to get through it, and we will get through it again with the help and support of our loyal employees.
We all have to do what we have to do in these challenging times. Thanks for giving us an insight into the playbook of activating when we're in a crowd-free environment. I think that's going to be valuable for sponsors across the sporting spectrum. And thanks very much for taking the time to sit with us this morning. Leon Blanche from BoyleSports, thanks very much.
Thank you very much for having me on, Rob.